Mo's Podcast.
Mo. You might end up dead.
You might end up dead is my middle name.
Whoa!
Hello and welcome everybody to Mo's Podcast. My name is Mo Al-Khatib and this is my first episode, my first podcast, and I'm very excited to start this journey of podcasting. Hopefully you guys like the content and support me as much as you can by sharing it with your friends and family. And today's topic, it's a very controversial topic. Hopefully it resonates with everyone that is listening. It's concerning children, and specifically children's abduction. And no, it's not like your typical abduction. It's not a guy who drives a van throughout the neighborhood trying to lure kids in the van. It's not like that. It's a government agency, believe it or not. It's a government agency, and it's operating in the most democratic country in the world. Can you guess where? I don't think so. It's not a third world country where a tyrannical regime comes in and barges into your house and kidnap your kids and put them in these facilities where they brainwash them to worship their ideologies. No, it's not. It's a first world country, and statistically, it's the most democratic country in the world. It's Sweden. Yes, Sweden. And it's very surprising when I heard about this, and very concerning, because it's, like I said, it's the most democratic country in the world, and it's supposed to be safe. Yeah, the most advocate for human rights in the world. Sweden. It's where Swedish fish comes from, right? I don't think so. I'm not sure. I would like to believe so, because it says Swedish fish. But anyways, according to some media sources, 1,500 children are removed from their households and placed under foster care. That's a high number for Sweden, the most democratic country in the world. It's a larger number than its Nordic neighbors. And get this, 34,000 Muslim children have been removed. Better yet, I would say kidnapped since 2014. How did it start? What's the purpose of all this? What's causing this? The Swedish Parliament has established LVU, which stands for the Swedish Care of Young Persons Act, and it was created in the 1990s. And it gives full authority to social service workers to remove children forcibly from their parents. And now that's power. That's a fucking power trip. Since the late of the 20th century, Sweden and Finland and Norway all have laws which give the social welfare authorities the power to forcibly remove children from the care of their parents in what appears to be arbitrary grounds, and place them in foster homes or institutions or foster families among total strangers. Children are taken far away from their houses and sometimes taken away from schools without the parents' consent, without their knowledge. It's fucking crazy. So this entity basically operates like a tyrannical regime and take kids away from their parents and do whatever the fuck they want without any consequences whatsoever, because it's a fucking government agency. They are a very powerful entity operating as a state police in a third world country. There are some horrible stories across Sweden concerning Swedish citizens that have experienced this in first hand. Some of these cases took them months, years to basically get their kids back and reunite. That's how fucked up of a system it is over there in Sweden. And when I say they target specific people, they target lower income households, immigrants, people of color, single parents, single mother, single dad. They target these people. How would you feel if this happened to you here in America? Thank God that doesn't happen here. If it did, it would be very rare and you would hear it everywhere. Because no just system will allow this to happen. And I'm not saying the system here in America is better than anywhere else in the world. But it's better when it comes to families and children. It'll be a fucking headline news if it was here. Some of these cases have alleged sexual abuses and molestations. It's a very dark and disturbing matter. And it happens to kids. Sometimes without their parents' knowledge. They don't know what's going on, these parents. They lost their kids and they're trying to fight back to get these kids back. While their kids are sexually abused in these foster cares and foster houses. Take this case, for example. A couple named Halima Mary and Alamamu Giorgio came from African country of Gambia with their children. However, after a few months, their 6-year-old daughter was forcibly removed by the CPS Swedish mafia. The 6-year-old girl was moved to several different houses due to sexual abuses by foster families. And I'm saying few, like 5 or 6, few houses. And that happened constantly with her, but they never ever gave her to her parents ever again. Halima and Alamamu last seen their daughter when she was 12 years old. The family believes that they are victims of racism based on their color of skin and their religious background because they're Muslims. And there's this lady, her name is Sev Westerberg, an international lawyer who actually won 8 cases at the European Court of Human Rights against Swedish social services mafia. Because that's what they are, they're fucking mafia. She says, and I quote, "There are kidnapping Muslim children. They don't accept that they have other ways to live." And she says in another quote, if you are immigrant family in Sweden, there's a larger possibility that the social authority will take your child away from you. Another immigrant family who came from Syria a few years ago with their 4 children. And now Syrians are running away from their country. They're fleeing from a brutal civil war and dictatorship. Came to the West for safe haven. These people went through a lot to come to safe and peaceful place, only to find out that what's waiting for them is fucking worse. Their 4 children were kidnapped from them for no apparent reason. No warning. No logical reason other than they have different beliefs and different culture. Wait, so with this family, specific family, the Syrian family, it gets very interesting pretty quick. Because their newborn, after a few years of fighting for their kids, they had a newborn who was 5 minutes old when it was taken away from their care in the hospital. These people came to the fucking hospital, and literally after minutes, this kid came to the world. They just kidnapped him. They took him away from his family. And I'm telling you, Syrians have experienced so much shit coming to the West. They fled a brutal civil war. That's first. Second, they came in boats, and some of these people, they drown in the sea to come here for a better life to the West. And when they come here, they'll be surprised because apparently the government needs kids, and they take these kids away from them. And there's another story that circulated in social media of a mother named Lina Olhabi, a Moroccan single mother who was found dead in her house. Why, do you ask? Why was she dead? And how is this related to that? Well, the social services of Sweden had come to the house, to the school, and removed her 10-year-old, better yet kidnapped her 10-year-old son from her care. So the boys' school filed complaint claiming that there was no food in the house. She's a single mother. But I don't believe they did not have a fucking food in their house. As a single mother, going through hurdles to get food on the table because there's no male figure or a husband to help out. So she has to rely on welfare to provide for her. Because Sweden has the best welfare system in the world, believe it or not, statistically speaking. But they did not do that. They did not. Instead, the Swedish government took her kid away from her on the reasons because she did not have enough food in the house. Well, why didn't the Swedish government then help her out of providing food for her kid? More money, since she was a single mother. Why? But they didn't. They did not do that. So instead of just supporting her financially, it's insane that they just took her kid away. They took her child away, claiming that she could no longer be able to support him. And guess what happened? And this is how she died. She committed suicide. That's how she died. She committed suicide after 2 months fighting for her kid. And when the government or the Swedish services told her, the Swedish social services told her that you cannot have your kid anymore. The son now has no mother because his mother died committing suicide. And this is what a tyrannical regime looks like to me. There are more cases like this, similar to this kind of cases. But what can low-income immigrant barely knows the language do to save their kids? That's why the LVU, the Social, the Swedish Social Service target these kind of families, because it's easy to do. If a child happens to tell his or her teacher that it gets slapped on the pants at home for educational purposes to discipline the kid, authorities believe the child and fabricates a story of spanking and corporal punishment. And then, by the support of the LVU Act, the Social Security manager can then, without trial, kidnap the child. Yeah, they can do that. They can do that. They can do whatever the fuck they want, because this agency, it's a very powerful agency in Sweden. Now, with the stories that you heard, okay, the Swedish government came out because it became such a problem to the Swedish government that the Swedish parliament have come out to comment on these issues, saying, and I quote, the Prime Minister of Kristersson, "This is false. This is not true. Sweden does not kidnap children." No way. No way. They're saying that they're not kidnapping kids and all this is going on, and they're denying it. He's saying that the social services do not kidnap children, neither Muslim or non-Muslim. He also said that social workers are being targeted. They're being targeted and exposed on social media and being threatened. He said the government will post guards and earmark more funds to the Swedish Psychological Defense Agency to counter what it's called misinformation. That sounds very familiar here. Anyways, another person spoke out saying it's a disinformation. Migration and Integration Minister Anders Yegman, and I quote, "We absolutely don't do that," saying the main goal is to protect children and support families. No, this is not how you support families, not by kidnapping children because of their religious background or their cultural background. Anders Yegman also said that the campaign was fueled in part by frustrated parents who have failed in their parenting and were projecting their anger at authorities. Well, they're parents. Of course they're going to project their anger because they lost their kids. These parents and activists all around Sweden went and start protesting because their kids are taken away from them. They're going to be angry. Their kids, they don't know where their kids are. And you guys are not being transparent with them. And you guys are not giving them the chance to fight back to get their kids back. Of course they're going to be frustrated and angry. And now they're trying to discredit these families by saying they are connected to malevolent forces. And I wonder, who are these malevolent forces? They're saying that these claims are traced back to 2 Arabic websites whose creators support the Islamic State, ISIS. Yeah. Well, it's no surprise there. I mean, since they're Muslims, of course they're gonna support ISIS. right? That's fucking crazy talk. But let me entertain their thoughts. Okay, let's just say and assume that all Muslim parents who spoke out are ISIS supporters. Let's put all Muslims aside and only take the word from non-Muslims, from a Swedish citizen, let's say, right? Let's review this report titled Child Removal Cases in Sweden and the Nordic Countries by the Nordic Committee of Human Rights, the abbreviation NCHR. The report was addressed to Mr. Thorbjorn Jagland, the Secretary General of the Council of Europe. Is he an ISIS member? I don't think so. The report was prepared in 2012 and signed by lawyers, former judges, and law professors, professor of psychology and investigating psychologists, and medical doctor in Sweden, including the lawyers, members of the steering committee of the Nordic Committee for Human Rights, NCHR, for the protection of family rights in the Nordic countries. Are all of the above ISIS members? As far as I know, ISIS was formed in 2012. But I've not heard that it has reached Sweden in its first year, or that some of its members become lawyers and judges and professors, especially in Sweden. It appears that mostly young sole parent families, economically and educationally weaker families, families with health challenges, and immigrant parents are targeted by these social services in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, and Finland. Now, Sweden's social services are so powerful. They are a powerful institution in the country. So much so that even in the rare case that a Swedish court sides with the family and rules against social services decision to take the child away. Under the current law, the services can override the ruling and refuse to give the child back to their parents. That's a fucking power trip. They're so powerful, they can just overrule that fucking decision and still keep the kid. That's how powerful they are. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Now, why does the Swedish Social Service do that, the LVU? What's the reason? What's the benefit? Is it really to protect these kids? Is it really to protect these children? Now, without parental permission, with foster parents, they can use these kids, and I shit you not, they can use these kidnapped kids as unpaid labor on the farm, be adopted away, and sold to sex addicts. That's a conspiracy theory talk, but it's not. It actually happens. They're adopted by and sold to sex addicts, to rich pedophiles. The kid can be used as a commodity in a municipal profitable trafficking. And now it does not account for the child to say it's homesick, longing for mom or dad. Authorities dictate what is the best for the child. The Well-Integrated Person Act LVU HVB system is a huge industry with a turnover of some 2% of the Swedish state budget. That's why they fucking do it. For money. For fucking money. They sell these kids for fucking money. And it's part of the Swedish state budget. The black economy is added. The black market. They're sold to the black market. Billions of dollars are made of these kids yearly. It's a big business in Sweden. Taking away children from their mothers. It's a big fucking business. And that's what Siv Westerberg said, the lawyer, the international lawyer. She pointed out that the foster homes are given too much money by the social services. And if you get a foster child in your home, you will get 25,000 krona, which is equal to $2,500 a month for taking kids into your home. That's a fucking business for most people. Imagine there are companies acting like they're foster parents. They're acting like foster parents. And they're actually taking these kids in, saying, oh, we love these kids. Oh, we like to protect these kids. But we have to make money somehow. Right? Imagine that. They operate as fucking profitable companies. They take these kids in the house. They take these kids in foster care and use them as a commodity. And you get paid for it, for having these kids. $2,500 a month doesn't sound bad at all for these people. And they don't have to even pay taxes on these kids. They don't. They just make money off of them and never pay taxes to the government. It's very ridiculous. So a lot of people who are psychopaths, who don't have any feelings for children, they take, let's say, 2 or 3 foster children and have an income off of these children. That's a pretty good amount of money. You can have a luxury life with 2 or 3 children. Some 28,000 children are LVU labeled each year in Sweden. Now I ask, does it seem so crazy that these parents go out and fight for their kids because they don't know their fates and what's happening with them? Is it so crazy to call these parents conspiracy theorists or malevolent forces or ISIS or Al-Qaeda or whatever because they want their kids back? They trying to discredit these families so they can protect their fucking budget. Billions of dollar budget, 2% of Swedish state budget. And for the sake of fucking money, people are willing to do whatever the fuck they want, especially governments. Because if you try to fuck with their money, they will come to you and they will take you down no matter what. They'll shut you up and they will set you up with some crazy shit that you can't get out of. Every year, 1,500 children are used as unpaid labor and guinea pigs for the pharmaceutical companies. And these are not my words. All this are not my words. These are Swedish activists, writers, authors, and lawyers who says this. So you can't blame the parents when they are trying to get their kids back. Whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. Kids are kids. I don't care what's your religious background or your cultural background. I don't give a fuck about that. These are fucking kids. The Swedish social services are enjoyed by impunity. You can't do anything against those people. They are a very fucking powerful entity, and they committed countless violations. No one can stop them. No one. If they can overrule a decision from a Swedish court, then bet your ass they can do whatever the fuck they want when it comes to forcibly removing kids from their parents. It's fucking insane. And apparently these parents can't do anything to stop it. There are low-income families, single mothers and single fathers. Do you think they can afford those lawyers, expensive lawyers, to fight in courts? It takes months. It takes years to get these kids back to their family. And sometimes they never see them again. And like I said, they're usually used in unpaid labor. They are taken by these foster families and profiting from these children. It's a big fucking business. 2% of the Swedish state budget is from this shit. Do you think they will let anybody fuck with that shit? No. You're not gonna fuck up their money. They will come to you with forces. They will try to discredit you. They will label you as a terrorist, as an extremist, as a lunatic, because you're fighting for your kids. And they're saying that you lack the parental skills to take care of your kid. Because apparently they know better than you do. It's just insane to me that a government agency is able to take your kid away from you. It's unheard of. It's unbelievable. And when I started digging deeper in this, it just got weirder and weirder. And I had to stop myself because it's a rabbit hole. Thank you everyone for listening. Hopefully you liked this episode, and if you did, please share with everyone. I just wanted to shed some light on the matter, hopefully to reach to as many people as we can. Thank you everybody, and have a nice day.